Hi, it's Ursula from EasyScraps.com, and I wanted to show you another thing that I do with gesso. And so what I've done so far is I have the Ranger craft sheet, and I have a doily that I've spread gesso over, just using a credit card, and I'm just kind of cleaning up the edges a little bit. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. So all I'm going to do right at this point is lift up the doily. And so my design is now on the craft sheet. And I got some overspray. You can see where I kind of went through too much, but that's okay. I don't care. I like things grungy, and I'm probably going to use this in pieces anyway, so I am not going to worry about that. And so I'm just going to leave this to dry and go and wash off my doily, and I will be back in a little bit. Okay, before I let the other thing dry, I just wanted to show you one more thing. Sometimes if you take your doily or stencil or whatever, that it still has some of the gesso on it, and you can slap it on to another piece of paper and you can get a little bit of transfer. It doesn't generally give you the entire design. Sometimes you get lucky, but most often it just kind of gives you a little bit of texture, just to add a little extra something to your journal pages or something that you're working on. So again, I'm going to let all this stuff dry, and I will be back in a little while. Hi, I'm back, and I've left this overnight to dry, so my gesso is now fully dry, and I can't peel this off the craft sheet right now because of all the holes in the stencil. If I did, it would basically just fall apart. So my next step is to cover it with either paint or medium, something that will hold the doily stencil together. So I'm just using some cheap paint because most of it isn't going to show. So I'm basically doing a skin on top of a stencil skin. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color. This is Payne's Gray. Then I'm going to add in, probably should have mixed that before. I may slap some medium down if I can get the jar open quickly, oh, there we go. And then I'm going to mix the whole thing right on top of the stencil. And you want a fairly good layer. So I'm going to add, all right, this is not nearly as pretty as the Titan Buff from Golden, but since I'm using so much of it, I did not want to waste my golden paint. So I'm covering the entire thing. I'm getting some variety with that Payne's Gray color in there. I just want to make sure that the entire stencil is covered. Got some more gel in. And that there's a fairly thick coating over it. You don't really want it very thin. That's why I didn't want to waste my good paint, because you want to be able to peel this thing off at the end and kind of have it hold together. I'm just adding in a little bit more of the medium. And this thing's going to take a while to dry, so unfortunately that's the bad part of this technique, because you gotta have some patience. And so I will be back when it's dry. Hi, I'm back. And so the paint seems to be pretty well dry, so I'm just kind of going around the edges and lifting the paint up off of the craft sheet. And I don't know if you can tell, there is some texture this way, so you could use it this way, you know, face up, I guess you would call it, but I actually like to peel it off and use it that way. So you can see some of the different color paints. I did mostly white, so you don't get a lot of the color, but then you can see that gesso from the doily, and I usually cut it up into pieces and then use it. You can just basically glue it down with gel medium or paint on your mixed media pieces. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.